All right, let's get started. Yeah, sorry for last week. Last week was a little bit shaky as far as lecture and lab. I had a deadline due on Wednesday, but that's gone now, so things should be back to normal. So a couple of people have asked me about makeup quizzes because of we were supposed to have office hours on Friday. This week, if you have a reason to make up a quiz, this week is the week to do it. I would like to get them all done at the end of the week on Friday in my office hours, or today on office hours, whichever works best for you. Or if none of those work for you, email me. I should be getting caught up with emails as well as quiz grades. I plan to get quiz 1 and 2 graded by the end of the week so that you have feedback ready for the midterm, hopefully, ideally Wednesday. If you want your quizzes back, if you want them back with the grades or whatnot, come to my office hours or schedule time with me, because there's 120 students and I don't have time to really hand them out individually because I have to do that. That FERPA guidelines, as far as like legal guidelines, require me by law to give it to you directly. I can't just put them on a stack and have you come up here. Yeah. What now? So next Monday is the midterm. So in here, in class, unless you have some kind of disability accommodations or something, 50 minutes or 60 minutes, 10 minutes over class to do the midterm. So we'll talk about it in a second, or at the end of class. So quizzes, like I said, if you want them back, if you want the feedback, I'll be posting after Friday, once everyone's made up the quizzes, I will post the solutions on Friday. So if you don't finish your quiz by Friday, your makeup quiz, if you have permission for me to make it up, then it's going to count as a 0 after Friday. All right, so yeah, quizzes will be available in office hours if you want to come get them. If for some reason you can't come get them, I can look into maybe uploading them to your Dropbox profile maybe. But then I have to scan your quiz and then put it on Dropbox, and it's a huge hassle. So ideally come in person if you want them back. Otherwise, I'll post the answer keys on Friday after office hours or Saturday. That way you have them to study. So there will be a quiz today, or not quiz today, quiz on Wednesday of this week during lab. Like I said, if you want to make up the quiz, then come hopefully by Friday, if you can. So Lab 04, if you didn't finish it last week on Wednesday, I hope most of you have finished it by now, is due tonight, or not tonight, maybe, I think I said tomorrow night, right? Tuesday night, okay. So Tuesday night, so ignore tonight. Homework 01 is pushed till Friday. Try to finish it as soon as possible. Ask me questions as soon as possible. Do not email me and expect an answer on Friday night when it's due. I won't answer. So ask questions while you can before Friday night so that I can help you before. Yeah. Last week. So quiz this week will cover last week's material. The midterm will cover everything up until like today, basically. So today, all the lectures basically up until now, will be covered on the midterm, or fair game on the midterm. Okay, so I've had a lot of people ask me, and since we had a hurricane, I'm just going to go ahead and address it now. We'll do a quick SSH tutorial so that you have it, and you can refer to this video if you need help. So we'll do it real quick. I'll take you through every step of it. So the first thing you'll do is you'll go to my.sc, if you've never set it up before. You'll go down to this little part down here where it says purchase computer software. You'll enter your username and your password. You'll get a duo push, transferring your phone. All So then, this is if you're off campus. If you want to use the labs off campus, you have to do this. If you are on campus on EDU Roam, then you don't have to do this process. So you'll go to security, and then it says Cisco Anyconnect VPN for students or faculty and staff. You're all students, so you would do students. I'm a student, so I use this one. So you click on this one, it brings you to this like purchase site. And it says you have to enter your phone number. This is just typical. So enter your phone number. I'm not going to put mine. Let's do the department one. Let's see. So you don't have to put yours, really. It doesn't matter. You can put it, the department's. Where is the department phone number? I'm just going to put 1800. Okay. Anyway, you put this in here, you submit, and then it says you purchased the VPN or whatever for free, basically. After you do this process, you go to downloads, you enter your username and password here, and then you have this purchase right here. So you click on this, and it gives you the download links. So these little green arrows down are the download buttons, and then to the right of them you have the instructions for each operating system. So you have it for Windows, Mac, and even Linux. And so this will install the VPN, so if you're off campus, you can remote in. You can't remote in off campus unless you do this step. So these are, like, you can download the instructions, follow the instructions to install them, and whatnot. Okay, so once you've installed the VPN, you should be able to search for it. It's called Cisco Anyconnect Mobility Client or whatever. You start the app and it'll show up something like this. Even on Windows, it looks very similar to this. All right, and then you'll click Connect. It'll ask you for your username and password. And then you'll get a push notification. All right, so now it says connected. So now you're basically on campus now. If you were off campus, now you're on campus on the internet here. All right, so now you can follow the rest of the steps. All right. So once you're connected to the VPN, and it works even if you're on campus, you can connect to the VPN on campus if you want to, it doesn't matter. But if you're off campus, you have to do the VPN. So once you're on the VPN, you just copy and paste basically this and replace your username with the username, and then the 2 question marks with whichever machine you want to remote into. All right, so I kind of alluded to it at the beginning. To find the machines that are available, go to the department website, go to Resources, Linux Workstations, and you pick one of these. So you can either put this part after the @ symbol, or you can put this. It doesn't matter. For me, I think it's simpler to remember the numbers. Okay, so you put that here, where it says L, after the @ symbol, you put the host name or the computer that you're trying to log into. And then you got to keep the port 222 and then your username. So like I said, so I'll do it real quick. So if you're on Mac, you just open the terminal app and do this. If you're on Windows, you have to open PowerShell, or the Windows terminal as they call it now. And most versions or up-to-date versions of Windows will have SSH by default now. So you should be able to do this even on Windows without MOBA Xterm. In my original instructions online, you needed MOBA Xterm, but now PowerShell has SSH baked into it, so you shouldn't need it. MOBA Xterm was when Windows did not have SSH. All right, so you do SSH-P222, your username, and then the IP address, right? And then you'll get some kind of prompt that looks like this. And it asks you to enter your password. So I enter my password. Again, in Linux, your password's protected. It won't actually show it as you type it. So I'm entering my password. and it still succeeds even though it doesn't show it to you. And then you do duo again, and you're in. So now, and sometimes it does this, so this is a good lesson. Sometimes the VPN will disconnect and connect randomly. Don't complain to me about it. Complain to the central IT of the university. They're the ones responsible for the VPN, and it does this, unfortunately. So I'm still not connected. Anyway, so right now I'm on one of the Linux lab computers, right? So that's it. Now you can do your work remotely, right? So I'm going to disconnect now. So you just come up to your little icon or go back to Cisco Anyconnect. You hit disconnect, it disconnects you. All right. So that's SSH. A couple instructors have requested me to actually teach this, so you can do it in robotics or something. Yeah. What, the Anyconnect? This one up here? Did you start it? So you have to actually search for it and then run it, and it should show something up like this. And if you're on Windows or something, you just go here and click disconnect. So, yeah. What do you mean? Oh, it's on the syllabus. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's there as well. It's 24/7. So if I haven't emphasized it enough or said it enough in the semester, and I forgot to even mention at the beginning of the course, the Linux labs are 24/7. You come, you use your Carolina card on the door for Swear Engine, you come in, you punch the key code in, and you can get there 24/7. It can be 2 a.m., 3 a.m., whatever. You can go there and do your homework or whatever whenever you please, as long as there's not a class in there. I think we're the only ones using that lab. So, okay, so that's SSH. Similar to SSH, sometimes you need to copy files back and forth from the machine. So in order to do this, you use what's called the secure copy command, so SCP. So notice that instead of a lowercase p, it's an uppercase p. It will not work if you don't put an uppercase p. So it's basically the same thing as SSH, except you have an uppercase P, and it's source and destination. So you do secure copy SCP -P 222, and then you do the file that you want to copy to the Linux labs. So it can be any file, your homework, whatever, or a file that you want to go copy to the Linux labs. And then you specify what computer with your username. And then here at the end where you've got the colon and the tilde, this is just saying, hey, copy it to my home directory on the Linux labs. And you can actually specify something else besides the tilde right here. All right, so what if you want to copy your homework assignment or whatever from the Linux labs? Well, you have to still run this command on your computer, right? Not the Linux labs computer, you run it on your computer. So before you SSH in or without SSH connection, you want to run this command, SCP-P 222. Now you're pointing to the Linux lab computer and the file that you want to copy from the Linux labs, and then you say, okay, I'm going to put it here on my computer. So these commands are run on your computer, not the Linux labs or remoted into the Linux labs. These are for your computer, nowhere else. The reason for this is your computer is not accessible globally or publicly. There's these things called public IPs or public DNS entries that will make these computers be able to be referenced anywhere in the world. But your computer or laptop is not accessible anywhere in the world, right? It's private. So you have to copy to the Linux labs using your computer or from the Linux labs using your computer. All right, so we're going to go over a quick review of what we covered last week. We'll do more stuff in this week. We'll probably do some piping. We'll use some wildcards this week in lab. I may just cancel the quiz for Wednesday. That might just be easier. Plus, you have a midterm on Monday, so I think I will. So no quiz on Wednesday. We'll just go ahead and say that. I hope everyone's happy. If anybody's sad, okay, good. All right. So we'll go over a quick review. So wildcards. So question mark any single character. This is while you're in a command line or using bash. Asterisk is 0 or more characters. So a couple times in lab we saw where you could use some wildcards. Maybe like you're trying to delete all the text files or something. You do rm star.txt and it will delete all the text files. Or maybe you have something like test .txt where you have test 1, test 2, test 3. And you need to delete all of them in a batch. All right. So then we have curly braces used for referencing things that have certain characters or extensions or stuff like that. It just says choose one of the things in the curly braces. So if you have txt, then that's one of the things that it can match. Or if you have log, then that's one thing it can match. So, all right. So quotation marks, I kind of botched this last week. So I'm going to give you a better demo of this. No, come on. There we go. No spoilers. All right. So if we open this up, I'm not going to do this on the VPN now because the VPN's crazy. And we'll later learn in this semester how you can actually use aliases to make it easier on you to do SSH. Instead of having to remember the long command, you can create an alias and it will say, hey, run this command instead. Okay. All right, so go to my desktop. All right, so a quick thing about the quotation marks. So if I create some files, so touch star.txt, if I create that, then it's a literal star.txt, like the file is star.txt. And if I do touch test.txt, so now we have star.txt and test.txt. They're both files, empty files. So if we use ls star.txt, and let's say we want to use the long format, so ls-l star.txt, it's going to give us everything 0 or more matches before the .txt. So it gives us test.txt or star.txt, because they both end with .txt. But if we put them in quotation marks, then it says, okay, that star is no longer a special character. So it doesn't expand the star to 0 or more. It just is a literal star. So now it just gives us star.txt. So that's really all that quotation marks are doing, is keeping you from taking the question mark or the star and keeping it from being expanded when you do stuff on the command line. Okay. All right. So now with that out of the way, we'll start today's new material. All right, so you're going to see multiple overlaps with wildcards and regex, but realize they're not the same thing, right? Specifically when it comes to question marks. Question marks are not a regex character. They are a wildcard. They are not a regex character that you can use in regex to count as one single character. It doesn't work that way. So don't get them confused. They're two different things. There is a little bit of overlap when it comes to asterisks, but just think of them as two separate things. All right, so there's 4 things that we'll go over. I forgot to take this out. We're going to go over regular expressions, what they are, how to use them in general, square brackets, and then the new meaning of curly braces in regex terms. Okay. So what are regular expressions? So regular expressions, or regex, are really just things to create patterns or match patterns. You can easily define a pattern in regex that will apply to all these different patterns or whatnot. So really, it's just for pattern matching, is what it comes down to. So you can use them in the case of maybe searching for stuff in files. You can use them for searching and replacing things in files. You can use them in the way that compilers uses them to define a syntax or grammar, so that you can search through a file and detect certain things. So yeah, regex is really just defining an easy way of defining patterns. So again, not the same as wildcards. Keep those things two separate things. You got wildcards, you've got regex. They're two different things. All right, so first thing in regex is square brackets. So whenever you put anything in the middle of square brackets, by default it means only use one of them, right? So if I have something like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, then this regex only matches to one of those characters. So it's either A or B or C or D and so on. It's only one of those characters. All right. So, but then you can also define ranges, right? Instead of doing the whole alphabet between the square brackets, you can do A through Z for all lowercase A through Z. You can do capital A through Z for all uppercase characters. But again, when you put a range, it only counts one of those characters. It says, hey, I'm only going to take one of those capital letters. That's what I'm expecting in that place. So if I do something like A through Z, then it stands for one uppercase letter and one lowercase letter. So a match in this case would be capital A, B, or capital A, or something like that. So these are positional, right? Where you have these square brackets and where you have the regexes, it's saying, hey, I expect a certain character to be in this place. Okay, so again, you can have multiple things in a square bracket. You can specify them manually, or you can do a range, like all digits 0 through 9, so either 0 or 1 or 2 or 3, or you can do all lowercase, all uppercase, all letters, uppercase or lowercase, or and so on. So, but again, the important thing here is by itself, square brackets will only match one character. One of the characters inside of the actual square brackets. All right. All right, so one thing that's helpful, and I haven't really shown you yet, you may have heard of it, the Ascii table. So the Ascii table tells you how computers understand what letters are and numbers. Right? What key you hit on your keyboard correlates to something in binary. Right? So the Ascii table shows, hey, all these characters have a decimal and a hex and a binary value. So in this case, the letter A is 65. Its hex value is 41. Octal, if you use octal for some reason, 101, and so on. But you see that 65 through 122 is basically your alphabet with a couple extra characters. So this is how your computer says, hey, I know what character you're typing, right? And you'll see this pattern, this Ascii table in your career as a computer science student come up a lot. So you don't have to memorize it. No one can memorize the Ascii table, but just know it's there. This is how your computer encodes the letters and everything to know what to do with them. They're just numbers. Okay. So, and if you look here, let me pull them up side by side. Zoom a little bit. So how do you know what to put in these braces, these brackets, right? So when I say capital A through lowercase z, then it's going to grab everything. From A, B, all these capital letters, these symbols, basically everything from 65 to 121. Those are characters that can be inside of the braces. So when I have this one right here, this line right here, capital A through lowercase z, it includes all of these characters. So 65 all the way down to 122. Any of those characters can be inside of those brackets, or can be expected as one of those matches. Okay. So let's get rid of the Ascii table for now. All right, so what if we want more? So like I said, Square brackets only use one character, or only expect to use one of the characters in the braces in that position where you put it. So if you want more than one of those characters, you can combine square brackets with two of these symbols, one of these two symbols. So you can have a plus or an asterisk. So the asterisk means the same thing in regex as it does wildcards. But again, they're two different use cases. But in regex, it means the plus means refers to one or more characters, and the asterisk is 0 or more characters. So what's the difference? So asterisk means, okay, you can have no character at all or more. A plus sign is at least one character. So you have to have at least one of the things inside of the bracket. That's all it is. So in this case, for example, A, B, C, D in brackets, and then you have a plus sign, it expects at least one of those characters. So it's A or B or C or D, or more of them in combination. So you can have A, AB, ABC, ABCD, etc. Any combination that you want, as long as there's at least one character. So same thing for the digits. So this represents a 0 through 9 plus, refers to basically any number that you can ever conceivably think of. Like this would literally match any single to n digit number. Same thing here with A to Z. This has any word in it with no symbols. Any words that don't contain symbols are matched with this. Because you have any capital letter, 0 or more, and then any lowercase character, 0 or more. So it chooses one of these things. We'll see a little bit a way of actually testing your regexes later. All right. So what if you want a specific amount of characters? Say you want to say, okay, I only want 6 zeros in my number. Then you just put the character you want to match in the square brackets, and then put in curly braces the amount that you want. So in this case, if you want 6 zeros, then you would have 0 in the square brackets and 6 in the curly braces. All right. So again, I would advise you, especially with this lecture, to go through and read it yourself. I know I'm talking kind of on deaf ears, and it's a new thing, and a lot of what I'm saying is probably not going to make sense until you try it or use it yourself. But if you reread through this, it makes a lot more sense. All right. So a couple of real-world examples. So what if you want to search for a file with all values greater than 100 or less than 1,000? So you can create a regex that's basically, okay, 1 through 9. So we have 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 9 in this digit place. And then we have, okay, what's the next digit? It can be anything, 0 through 9. But we want less than 1,000, so we can only go up to 0 through 9 as well. Where is it at? There we go. All right. So what does it say? It says I have to have a 1, something greater than 1 in the first spot. So 1 through 9. So it can be 1 through 9 in the first spot. It can be 100, it can be 200, it can be 253, it can be any number between 100 and 999. Then in the second place, it says, okay, it can have any number 0 through 9. And then in the third place, you can have 0 through 9 again. So the maximum value you can have here that would match is 999. The minimum is 100. So this is just a succinct, compact way of describing, hey, I want all values greater than 100 and less than 1,000. So.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Shut up. I swear, they trigger on everything nowadays. I sneezed last night and Google went off. Yeah. So what if you want to search for all lines in a file that contain your name? Then this is a way you can do it. You have, and this is where escape characters come in, by the way. So you'll have to escape a lot of characters like tilde and things like that so that they don't mean certain things. So in this case, it has, what is this symbol do? So I don't even remember this from the summer. So in order to do it, look at what this does is it's a range because it has this dash, and this is a backslash, an escape space. So this is a space through all the characters tilde. So if we go back to the ASCII table, wrong window. So we go back to the ASCII table. All right, if we look at the space, so here it is, 32. And then we look at, okay, where's the tilde? Okay, there it is, 126. So literally anything 32 to 126 can be in that position 0 or more times. So the line can actually start with my name, or it can be in the middle of a sentence or something. And then at the end, you can expect anything else as well, 0 or more times. So does this make kind of sense? Like, we're just matching patterns, right? You look at the ASCII table, you say, okay, I want this character, I expect this character through this character to be here in this sentence or whatever. So again, there's some exercises and links that I'll show you at the end that you can actually practice this and try it for yourself. Okay, so this brings me to my point. Why are regexes important, right? So they're used in multiple fields. Searching, they make search really powerful so that you can search for multiple things and patterns without having to put every single combination. But in particular, as a computer scientist, they're used in compilers. So specifically when you get up into the compiler classes, I think it's 531, you'll learn that there's these two programs called Yak and Bison, and they are basically taking your code and converting it to assembly using regex. So what they do is they say, okay, I'm going to define what an if statement looks like, or a for loop, or a while loop, and in a regex. And then whenever it goes through and parses your code and sees those patterns being matched, it says, okay, I'm going to replace that with an assembly block of code. All right. So, for example, if we have an if statement, then this is how you would define maybe a simple if statement in regex. It looks really complex, but it's just if, and then you have a space, possibly a space, 0 or more spaces. Then you have a bracket, and then you have, okay, here's a regex, space, 0 through 9, A to Z plus, so 1 or more of these things. And then we have at least 2 of these. So you can have not equals, you can have equals equals, you can have whatnot. You can also add, if I wanted to make it even more complex, you could put greater than and less than in here as well. And then 2. So this is just 2 of these things. And then we have, again, the same thing, 1 or more of these things inside. So this is just a way to define a general if statement. It does it regardless of variable names, regardless of styling. That's why regex is very powerful, is because regardless of what your variable name is, this still detects what you're checking in the if statement. Same thing with any loops or anything. So, yeah. So when the compiler sees this if statement, it says, okay, I'm going to emit the machine code or the binary or the assembly code to perform this if statement. That's just how compilers work. So, yeah. So regex is actually very important. Please try to look up into it. Okay, so these are a couple helpful links. So we've already seen the ASCII table. Just keep it in mind. If you need to look up a range or something like that, keep that in mind. You have regex 1. Oh, maybe it doesn't exist anymore. Maybe I typed it wrong. Regex 1. Yeah. So this site will teach you, and actually it has lessons that you can actually do with regex. So for the first one, I want to match all 3 of these things right here, or match 1 character. So if I do A, it matches. If I do B, it matches. If I do C, it matches. If I do D, okay, well then I don't have D in this third one, so it doesn't match. And so on. So this is a very nice thing. I actually, during the summer, made my students do this as a lab, complete all these lessons and show that they completed them. And you can go through them. There's like 16 or 15 of them. And some of them are more useful than others. But yeah, this is a resource that you can use. You can also use what is called Regex 101. If I typed it right. Yep. And this allows you to test your regexes. So in here, you put your regex, whatever your regular expression is, and then you can actually put something like, hi, my name is Peyton. You put it in here and you can test it. So if you want to check hi, it actually highlights it and shows you what matches in here. Okay, maybe I want to highlight all of the I's. Okay, see it matched I and I, and so on. So this is a helpful tool. I use this if I ever need to do a regex. Okay, so all right. So again, you can practice these with your regexes. There's tons of different regex sites online you can practice with and or test your regular expressions to make sure they work and do what you expect them. So next week, we're going to have just a lab on Wednesday. We've already taken the quiz out. We're going to learn about grep, find, and sed, and probably barely touch on awk. These are all tools for doing different things. So grep just allows you to search files. I use grep literally almost every day. Find, I don't use it as much because I'm pretty organized. It just helps you find it. It's just like typing in a file name, right? Trying to find it somewhere in your file system. Sed allows you to edit files. It stands for stream editor. And it allows you to use a search and replace and all kinds of different things. Yeah, and all these use regex. So regex is not going away, as always.